And I want to ask you about Ukraine and the blow up the other day with Zelensky. Let me stay on the economy for a moment, because there are rising worries about a slowdown. You've got the Atlanta Federal Reserve saying we're going to have a contraction in the first quarter. Look, I know that you inherited a mess, and you said that the other night.
I've only been here,
but are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition, because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time. But I think it should be great for us. I mean, I think it should be great.
So Trump was asked a basic question. Do you think there will be a recession? And keep in mind, this is a guy who swept into office amid promises that he would lower costs on day one. His words, not mine. And yet now, when asked if his administration would usher in a recession, he offered up a whole word salad. But conspicuously absent in his rambling diatribe is one simple word: no. This is a situation where if the answer was no, you'd probably want to say it. And keep in mind, in case you thought that this was some slip of the tongue here for Trump, he's been previewing this repeatedly. Here he is also signaling a recession just a few days ago.
Even though those are low-paying jobs, the restaurant jobs and the leisure and hospitality jobs, they had sort of been a proxy for people having disposable money. A couple of days ago, Bank of America came out with their credit card data, and it was scary. I mean, a shocking declines in restaurants, airlines, lodging. Just look at the most recent poll on people who say they're going to go traveling in the next few months. It has plunged. I think the boom times are over. All the free money has been spent. And this is why I have a problem, Steve, with the Federal Reserve and interest rates, because if they look at aggregate data, it looks great. And so but the problem is that if 10% are doing 50% of buying and everyone else is struggling because of higher rates, it's a no-win situation. In other words, we've got to wait until the richest people in America stumble before there's any relief from Main Street. And I think as in addition to blowing up all the ways we examine data, we need to figure out a way for the Fed to re-examine how they do their job, the transmission of their policies, because they keep telling us they wield a mallet. Well, we need to find a way to wield the scalpel, because what they're doing right now is heads the rich people win, tails the rich people win.
Joel, Lindsay Group came out with a report a couple of weeks ago that I've mentioned a few times. Can Doge induce a recession? No, it can't, okay? You're not going to get a recession just from Doge. Now, there are other things that have happened in this economy with this slowdown. We could see a recession, but it's not going to happen just because they're cutting waste and abuse out of this government, Joel.
Yeah, no, you're exactly correct. In fact, of the last 5 years, we had about 3.1 million jobs, and about more than half were from government and from social services. And so those need to go.
It took Donald Trump 6 weeks to bring the U.S. from having the strongest economy in the world to the brink of recession. He insisted on imposing tariffs, even despite the chorus of voices insisting every single day that it would spike prices and shrink our economy. He insisted despite knowing that the economic uncertainty would impact the stock market. And yet now, lo and behold, the market has entered correction territory. This is what our market looks like compared to the rest of the world. That white line is the S&P 500. The lines above us are other major global indexes. Trump managed to preside over the worst market performance in the industrialized world, and it took him 6 weeks. He wants to be a memorable president. Nothing quite as memorable as squandering the strongest economy on the planet in just a few weeks for no reason whatsoever. But what's most striking is that Trump ran on lowering costs and getting money back into the pockets of everyday Americans. And yet now, not only are prices increasing for those everyday Americans, but the stock market crashing means that the retirement savings are plummeting as well. Trump was asked about this specific phenomenon. Here's what he had to say.
Go ahead. What else?
Americans have seen their retirement accounts fall in recent day. They're getting very nervous about these tariff conversations.
Well, I think the tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. It's going to make our country rich again. We have many companies, as you know, auto companies are opening up plants now. We've had 4 or 5 announced already, but many more are coming. And we're basically going to take back the money, or a lot of the money that we've given away over many decades. We've lost our jobs, we've lost our factories. We've lost 90,000 factories since the beginning of NAFTA. It's not that long ago. 90,000 factories. Think of that. and we're going to get them back. And they're coming back, and they're coming back in records. Look at what happened with the big chip company, the biggest in the world, by far the most powerful chip company in the world, from Taiwan. And they're going in with $200 billion of money, and they're going to build something that's going to give us 35-40% of the chip market in one company. No, it's going to bring it back, and I think it's going to make us bring us to a level that we've never had before.
So he's asked about retirement accounts falling, and his response is that tariffs are the greatest thing that we've ever done as a country. In case you thought that he would learn his lesson and offer up some relief for the economic hardship that he's ushering in, yeah, not so much. But in fairness, let's dig into that for a moment. He's suggesting here that the tariffs are going to help build up domestic industries, and so they're just a necessary evil. But remember, Biden was able to do all of those things that Trump is promising to do, and he didn't need to crash the stock market or launch a trade war to do it. Biden and Democrats passed the Inflation Reduction Act and the Chips and Sciences Act, both of which led to a boom in clean energy manufacturing and domestic manufacturing. They are responsible for hundreds of billions of dollars in investments right here in the United States. And guess what? We didn't need to alienate our allies or spark trade wars or render ourselves isolated on the international community or crash the stock market to do it. But because Trump has the touch of a deranged hyena, he decided that all of those things were suddenly necessary to reach the same outcome that Biden and Democrats accomplished through regular old competent governing. And of course, Republicans recognize what an impending disaster this is, and so they're already taking steps to cushion the blow by, and I hope you're sitting down for this, pinning the blame on the last guy.
The president is now, 45 days into his administration.
Something like that.
We're transitioning from Bidenomics and this terrible economy that was delivered by the last administration. It takes a while to turn that ship around, but we are doing that. And the Congress is working to codify all the executive orders that the president is doing.
Right, we got to transition out of that terrible economy. Except, let's think about this for a second. When it comes to the stock market that Biden was presiding over, not only was it not weak, it was at a record high during Biden's term. Or how about Trump's weak jobs report? He added only 151,000 jobs in February, not even half of what the average monthly job creation was under Biden at 336,000. And finally, with regard to everyday costs, something that Trump claimed to care a lot about during the campaign, think about what happens when tariffs on every good coming into the U.S. from Mexico and Canada and China will do. Think about what happens when they impose retaliatory tariffs. Prices on everything go up, from food to pharmaceuticals to lumber to cars and auto parts to electronics to clothing. Meaning not only is the inflation that lost Kamala in 2024 not going to subside, it is being exacerbated by Donald Trump's own administration's policies. All of which is to say, while the Trump White House wants to pin the blame on Biden, the reality is that the things that are bad right now are newly bad under Trump as the direct result of his own policies. Trump wanted to be the president. When is he going to start accepting responsibility for what he actually does in office? Does it ever happen, or will he just finger point at Biden forever? Or how about Trump's Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who's worth nearly $1 billion, coming out and saying this?
The United States also provides reserve assets, serves as a consumer of first and last resort, and absorbs excess supply in the face of insufficient demand in other countries' domestic models. This system is not sustainable. Access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream.
See, you guys don't want cheap goods. You want to pay more for goods because that way you're really deriving the full essence of the American dream, right? Why save money when you can just more than make up for it in essence? So look, if Donald Trump, who would throw himself a parade on Pennsylvania Avenue for tying his shoes in the morning, if that guy is signaling that we're about to usher in a recession, then I think the writing is on the wall. And that's because he's not focused on bringing down costs. He is only focused on beating his chest and being a tough guy when it comes to our own allies, regardless of who it hurts. And who it'll hurt is everyone in this country. Trump promised to focus on you. Instead, you are the last person that he's thinking about. Before you go, first, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we're now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they're willing to cater to this White House. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a great way for me to be able to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's completely free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support my work. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.